Hi dear student, the topic of today's session is computer storage devices. So what are these different storage devices? You can see different storage devices on the screen. You must be familiar of most of them, but let's start our discussion about what the storage devices are, and the topic we are going to include in our today's session are what is meant by different type of primary storage, then what is secondary storage, and then we will focus upon the material of different storage devices, and then we will discuss different type of storage devices. So let's start our discussion. As this classification diagram is showing to us that basically computer memory can be classified into two basic categories. One is known as primary memory and the other one is known as secondary memory. Primary memory is basically made up of further categorized into two further categories. One is known as RAM and the other is known as ROM. You must be familiar of both of these terms. So let's start with RAM. In this picture, you can clearly see a person installing a RAM inside his computer. So what is RAM? RAM is basically randomly accessed memory, and we can randomly access data from it. What is ROM? ROM is read-only memory, the memory from where we can read only. So now we need to compare the RAM and ROM, and it will be clearly telling us what is RAM in fact and what is ROM in fact. But before starting this comparison, I would like you to understand few of the terms. When I am saying that randomly access memory, so it means that there is something that our CPU is, or for the processing, we are accessing it again and again. Alright? And when we are accessing it again and again, the moment the computer will be shut down, all the data from the RAM will be deleted. It means it is holding something not permanent. So we are using a term for not permanent is volatile. So now we are talking about RAM. Whenever we are turning on our computer, all the booting instructions are basically being loaded from ROM. So yes, it's very obvious all the time we are not going to install the operating system into our computer. So ROM must be holding some of the instruction data permanent. So it is in fact storing bootstrap program. Booting means starting up the program, starting up the computer, and so it is holding something permanent. It means it's a non-volatile. Non-volatile mean permanent and volatile mean not permanent, right? So let's compare RAM and ROM. So it's a volatile storage. It means that the moment computer will be shut down, all the data from the RAM will be deleted, and it will not be available when the computer will be shut down. Every time, whenever we are turning on the computer, RAM is storing some new data. Because every time, whenever we are using computer, we are accessing some different programs. Okay, and yes, we can say here that here is your CPU, and then it is accessing the data from our hard disk, and it is storing inside the RAM for the purpose of random access. Alright, so what is ROM? ROM is basically holding all the permanent instructions or booting instructions. So it's a non-volatile memory. So if we compare, RAM is volatile and ROM is non-volatile. And it stores the data that computer, RAM is storing the data that is currently being used by the computer, while the ROM is storing the data that is basically used by booting instruction or bootstrap program or basic input output system. BIOS stand for basic input output system. Now the contents of RAMs are easily changed. Every time when you turn on your computer, you are going to write a new data into the RAM, while the content of ROMs are fixed and we do not change it. These are usually being set by the manufacturer. At the time of manufacturing the ROM, the programmers are writing the data onto the ROM. So we can increase the size of the RAM, but size of ROM is usually fixed. So let's proceed with the secondary storage. So as in this presentation, you can see three different types of storage devices. Yes, we are very much familiar with these devices. One is hard disk, then we have CDs or DVDs, and then we have USB flash drive. So here at one side, you can see three different materials. Our hard disk is made up of magnetic material. Here you can see magnetic material here. So it is made up of platters stacked over each other, and these platters are made up of magnetic material. All the data is being read or write over this magnetic material. Now if we are talking about CDs, yes, we can easily see here that it is made up of optical material. So it's an optical storage device. And when we are talking about flash drive or USB, it's a solid state drive. Okay, Ji. So these are secondary storage. And what is secondary storage? Where we are permanently storing the data. Then I am describing the hard disk in detail. You can see here different heads here, right? These are the heads that are being used for reading and writing operation over the hard disk platter. So how does a platter look like? Like how the data is being stored over the platter. This is one example of the magnetic disk, one part of our hard disk, and you can see here different tracks and then different sectors. Data is being stored in the form of tracks or sectors. So why do we need these tracks and sectors? Whenever we want to retrieve back the data, we can easily retrieve it. Now we are talking about CD, that is made up of optical medium or optical storage, right? So here you can see data can be written in the form of bits and lines. Okay, I would like to add one more thing here, that here we have a magnetized dot. Initially, all the tracks are or sectors are being written with 1. Whenever we are placing a magnetized dot here, so it will turn into 0. So this is the way that binary pattern is being stored over the magnetic disk. Now we are talking about CDs. CDs is basically made up of LAN and bits. Wherever the data is being stored, that is known as your LAN and then your bits. Okay, then we have solid state drive. Here you can see different things. One is known as your cache, a small memory. Then we have different controllers and a flash memory. So let's refer our book for the detail of solid state drive. So here is the explanation of solid state drive. That what is solid state drive? It is made of semiconductor chips, as you have seen in the diagram as well. In the picture as well, I have shared about solid state drive, that it is made up of semiconductor chips. And yes, there are different transistors in it. We have NOR and NAND flash structure stored in it. You must have seen the term flash memory there. So basically, that flash memory is made up of NOR and NAND flash structure. Then we have different gates there, control gate and floating gate. Control gate sits on top of the floating gate. So transistors are set to binary value 1 and the electric current reaches each control gate and then flows through to the flowing gate to be stored. So the value will be changed to 0. This is the way that data is being written on the solid state drive. So let's discuss that how these looks like. Here you can see this is your hard disk drive and this is SSD. So hard disk have moving parts or movable parts, but SSD has no such movable parts. Both are having read and write heads, but in this case head is constant and the disk is moving, where in this case head is moving. So it means that there is less chance of being uh, robustness in case of SSD. So that's all about today's lesson. Hopefully you got the idea of what are different types of memory and how these can be categorized into different types on the basis of their medium and how these different mediums are working. Let's recap up our syllabus as well so that we can check that if we have missed some points out of our syllabus. Yes, we have studied about primary storage, RAM and ROM. Then we have discussed about our secondary storage, and we have categorized different things out of it, that is magnetic, optical and storage, and solid state drive. And yes, we have discussed tracks and sectors on magnetic storage. We have discussed bits and lines on optical storage. Then we have discussed flash memory, NAND or NOR technology in our solid state drive. Hopefully you got the idea of storage devices, and inshallah we will meet in next class with fetch, decode and execute cycle. Till then, keep watching and subscribing my videos. Thank you very much.